What's going on, everybody? What's going on? I am very, very excited to be here tonight. This is the first ever episode of Breaking Down the CIAA. And let me tell you something. I want to make CIAA history tonight. What we are going to do is a ESPN Sports Center type of breakdown of every single game that took place in the conference over the weekend, starting on Thursday night. And we're not just going to talk about the game, we're going to view highlights of the game, we're going to break down, we're going to give every player their credit. We got names, we got yards, we got stats, we got highlights, and then at the end of the show, we have rankings. This is an official production we got going over here. It's only going to go higher and higher. Let's start with this. Let me go ahead and pull this up and share this screen. We're going to get right into it. We're going to break down week 0 in the CIAA. Every single game. We're going to start with the first game that took place, Virginia State versus Barton. This game took place in Wilson, North Carolina. All right, so we're going to start this right on off. Early in the first quarter, 0-0 game. We have Rashawn Matthews with the 58-yard touchdown pass to Kevin Gales to put Virginia State up 7-0. Let me just tell you, for those of you who don't know, this was a complete and utter beatdown. 58-yard touchdown pass. They come back later on in the first quarter, score again. They have Brandon Ross with a 6-yard touchdown run, but they were not done. Early in the second quarter, another touchdown pass to Rejon Hammond. At this point, it's 21-0. Still in the now we're early in the third quarter, and we have Brandon Ross with a 1-yard touchdown run. At this point, it is 28-0. I'm thinking they're going for 50-60, but they weren't done here. Rejon Hammond again with a 6-yard touchdown run puts Virginia State up 35-0. They wound up winning with the score of 35-7. They'll be at Norfolk State this weekend. After that beatdown, things did not go so well for the CIAA that same night, with Livingstone visiting Charleston in West Virginia. They're in Charleston, West Virginia, Thursday night. So we picked this up. The score is 7-0 Charleston, and it's only going to get worse from here. So we have Ian Hamrick throwing a 57-yard touchdown pass to Bosmans. Wide open. Guys look slow. They're taking bad angles. It's now 14-0. But the one shining bright for Livingstone is their field goal kicking. Jason Zapata might be the best field goal kicker in the CIAA as he makes a 43-yard kick. That puts the score at 14-3. Charleston was not done yet. The beatdown continued. Now, at this point, it is 27-3. But Livingstone did not lie down. They fought back, and they had a 63-yard touchdown run by Dontavius Phillips. This would be Livingstone's last score of the game. The score would end with the score of 39-10. So let's look at some of the stats from this game. Listen, this was a struggle. Livingstone had 15 first downs to Charleston's 31. They had 76 total rushing yards, including that 60-plus yard touchdown. They gave up 271 rushing yards. They also gave up 285 passing yards. The quarterback went 20 for 27. They gave up 5 passing touchdowns. And Charleston had 89 plays on the game. Charleston won time of possession 38-21. Livingstone when Livingstone was 1 for 11 on third and fourth down. They also had 11 penalties for over 100 yards. Now, the one bright spot on the offense was Justin Glenn, who had, on receiving. Justin Glenn had 4 catches for 101 yards. So shout out to Justin Glenn. He was the one bright spot outside of Zapata for Livingstone in this game. And Livingstone is now going to be traveling to Allen on Saturday. And unfortunately, I'll have to be rooting for Livingstone because they are playing a CIAC school and we need the win. All right. Now we have Lincoln versus Grand Valley State. Early in the second quarter, Grand Valley State is going to go up 14-0 with a 45-yard touchdown pass to Kellen Reed. But Lincoln was spunky and they fought back. Ron Darius Gregory with a 2-yard touchdown run puts Lincoln on the board. Right here, there was a bad snap on a field goal. They tried to make something out of nothing, but they wound up making nothing out of nothing. As Grand Valley intercepts that, the score's now 28-9, and Grand Valley was not done. They have a 30-yard touchdown pass to Donovan Johnson to put them up 35-9. The final, look at that, talking to the fans, getting hugs. It's just a party. The final score would be 45-9. Next week, it only gets worse for Lincoln as they are traveling to Duquesne University, a Division I school. Let's get into these numbers. Lincoln had 12 first downs to Grand Valley's 26. They had 17 total rushing yards to Grand Valley's 230. Grand Valley went 17 for 22 passing for 251 passing yards. They had almost 500 yards of total offense. Tough. To make things worse, the interesting part about this game is time of possession was pretty even, pretty much 30 minutes apiece. However, Lincoln was 2 of 13 on third and fourth down. Also, Lincoln had 3 different people to throw a pass in this game, not including the kicker on the muff field goal. They had 3 people take at least one pass attempt, with Hamas Duran going 14 for 24, 180 yards and an interception. On the bright spot, Kyrie Tyson had 93 yards on 4 catches. Once again, Lincoln will be traveling to Duquesne for another bludgeoning. Let's continue. Next game, the CIAA CIAC Challenge. We had Albany State versus Shaw, and this was a complete and utter beatdown. Right here we have Kyle Wright Isaiah Knowles. It's getting worse. Now it's 17-0. Now it's at 24. But Shaw did not go down without a fight. They put a score on the board as Justin Wheeler threw a 33-yard touchdown pass to Colby Bates. Unfortunately, right after Shaw scored this touchdown, Cameron Watts took the kickoff back 90 yards for a touchdown, and that was pretty much it for the game. Right after the touchdown, a 90-yard kickoff return, just when you think Shaw might put up a fight. No, the kicker is not going to catch him. He ran 90 yards untouched. Scores now 31-7 going into the half. Final score 51-7. 51-7. Good Lord. All right. On the bright side, Shaw will not lose this week as Shaw is on the bye week. So there's no way you can't get fired on your day off, right? So Albany had 27 first downs to Shaw's 12. This is the craziest statistic you'll see today. Albany State had 311 rushing yards. 311. 176 passing yards. Almost 500 yards of total offense. compared to Shaw's less than 200. To make matters worse, Shaw went 3 of 19 on third and fourth down. 3 of 19 on third and fourth down. But also, Shaw played two different quarterbacks. Justin Wheeler and Alexander Marsh both threw at least 5 passes in this game. Wheeler went 10 of 23 for 132 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. Marsh went 0 of 5. No touchdowns, no picks, no yards. All right. Next, once again, Shaw's on the bye. Oh, this game right here. I got to stop it right there because this was a sad sight to see indeed. A very sad sight to see indeed. Fayetteville State put on one of the worst offensive products I've ever seen in recent CIAA history. They were on national television, HBCU Go, in the CIAA SEAC Challenge, playing against Benedict. And I had to pause this because, truthfully, there's not many highlights in this game. There was 1 touchdown total in the entire game, which we are about to see. It was Jackson Jensen to Malachi Jones of Benedict. That put Benedict up 10-0 in the second quarter, and there was not another point scored for the rest of the game. Very low-scoring affair. Let's go ahead and get into the stats, and then I'll show you the lone touchdown of the game. So, Fayetteville State, the stats are strange for this game. Fayetteville State had more first downs. They had about the same amount of rushing yards. They had 30 more passing yards. Now, here's what's crazy. They had 175 passing yards on 44 attempts. It's almost impossible to do that. 44 passing attempts for less than 200 yards. Both teams had less than 300 total yards on the game. How you managed to get less than 300 yards on 76 plays, I don't know how you make that happen. I don't know. How do you not get at least 300 yards of total offense with almost 80 plays? Someone explain that to me. But before we go any further, listen, I actually took the time to watch every single one of these games. Put these highlights together, put this product together for you guys. Listen, man, I hate to get my Umar Johnson on, but hey, I'm going to go ahead and put this up there for you guys. The Cash App is there. Once again, I hate to get my Umar Johnson on, but real quick.
Donations. Gifts.
Yes, hit me up with those donations and those gifts. All right, let's continue. As I said, there was not a whole lot of highlights from that particular game, as there was 1 touchdown scored the entire game, and that was from Benedict in the second quarter. So, Fayetteville State played 2 quarterbacks in this game, neither one of which could muster up a touchdown, but it is what it is. Damari Daniels went 12 of 29 for 102 yards, and Joe Owens Jr. went 11 of 15 for 73 yards. And that was pretty much it. Next week, Fayetteville State will be traveling to UNC Pembroke, and hopefully they can muster more than 0. This is the lone touchdown of the game by Benedict, and that's all the highlights I have of this game. I mean, it was a hard game to watch. I'm not going to lie to you. 10-0. All right. Next game, this was a complete and utter beatdown. We have Johnson C. Smith versus Morehouse. Right here, we see up 6-0. Kevin Durham throws an 11-yard touchdown pass to DeAndre Proctor, and they break it down with a dance. Now we see Camaro Edmonds with the 4-yard touchdown run. It is now 19-0. And it only gets worse from here. All right, now we see Kelvin Durham again with a 72-yard touchdown pass to Brian Lane. Running scot-free. I mean, listen, this is a Morehouse. Y'all got to do better. Morehouse fights back, though. Scott Miles with the 71 touchdown pass to Cameron Brunson. That was the last time they scored in this game, however. And we see Kevin Durham again to Reginald Daniel for another 33-yard touchdown pass. A final score of 45-9. What a beatdown that was. All right, let's look at these numbers. Johnson C. Smith had 28 first downs. Pretty balanced. 13 rushing, 13 passing. Only 3 penalties. 200 rushing yards, 300 passing yards. 500 yards of total offense. Now, the one thing that did jump out, Johnson C. Smith had 11 penalties for 110 yards. They completed 4 of 9 third and fourth downs. Now, here's what jumps out to me about Johnson C. Smith, something that could haunt him in addition to the penalties. They were in the red zone 4 times. The red zone 5 times. They scored 4 times. However, they missed 4 extra points. That could come back to haunt you. It says right here. They're going to have to work on that. Those points are going to come in handy later on in the season. Let's look at the rest of these numbers. Kelvin Durham, 15 of 19 for 270 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bobby Smith had 12 carries for 72 yards. Avante George had 13 carries for 64 yards. Camaro Edmonds had 7 carries for 44. I mean, everybody was toting the rock. 5.8 yards a carry, 4.8 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry, 6 yards. I mean, goodness gracious. And Brian Lane had himself a big game. 6 catches for 163 yards and a touchdown. The pride and the hope of the CIAA and all of HBCU football is resting on Johnson C. Smith next week as they take on Valdosta State. So for next week, I got to continue my CIAA pride for one more week because we need Johnson C. Smith to beat Valdosta. All right, the next game started off good with some promise. You're thinking, okay, I see something, but they ran out of gas pretty early. Who am I talking about? Elizabeth City State. Elizabeth City State went up against Chowan in Murfreesboro, North Carolina. Right here, we pick it up. It is 0-0. Jamison Davis is going to score on a 7-yard touchdown run to put Chowan up 8-0. Not to be outdone, Traquan Johnson is going to run for a 3-yard touchdown and tie it up at 8-8. Then right after that, Emil Braswell is going to score on a 1-yard touchdown run right after this big run. It's going to put Elizabeth City up 14-8. So he's saying, okay, look at Elizabeth City State. They found an offense. This is a new look team. What they going to do? Well, that was the height of the game for Elizabeth City State. As from then on, Jacoby Lane throws a 3-yard touchdown pass to Maurice Smith. Puts Chowan up 21-14. Then they score again. Jalen Razor has a 13-yard run, puts them up 28-0, and that's it. Elizabeth City State loses with a final score of 28-14. They started off strong. They were even up 14-8. And unfortunately, they did not score again after that score late in the second quarter. They did not score at all in the second half. Let's look at these numbers for ECSU. 18 first downs, 146 rushing yards, 118 passing yards. Here's the issue. They gave up 300 passing yards to Chowan. 300. 426 yards of total offense they gave up. They had 11 penalties for 113 yards. Time of possession was pretty much even, but they were 5 of 13 on third and fourth down. They went to the red zone 4 times and they only scored twice. They attempted 4 field goals and missed all 4. That's a problem. Penalties, can't make kicks, can't score in the red zone. That's how you lose games. Christopher Perkins went 12 of 22 for 118 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Traquan Johnson had himself a day. 19 carries for 99 yards and a touchdown. Averaged 5.2 yards a carry. It only gets worse for Elizabeth City after this, as now they are traveling to Hampton, who just lost to JCSU. Jackson State, so they're going to be ready. All right, now, another team that showed some promise and some energy and some signs of life early. Bluefield State hosted Tusculum in Bluefield, West Virginia. And yeah, let's just talk about this. This is John Celestin with a 40-yard touchdown run. It's going to put Tusculum up 7-0. But Bluefield State came to play. They came to play. Wesley Thompson threw an 86-yard touchdown pass to Brandon Wiley to tie the game up at 7. Bluefield State's looking pretty good early. Otuswale Dion with a 23-yard touchdown run, and there was a lot more of this to come. Later on in the game, the score is 21-7, and there's going to be a big play. Here we go. Bluefield State, 71-yard touchdown pass from Wesley Thompson to Brandon Wiley. Big Blue is fighting back. They're still fighting. Samuel Olekegon with an 85-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. Big Blue is in business. The score is now 20-21. Is this a new year for Bluefield State? No, it is not, unfortunately. Tusculum goes, oh man. It's 28-23. Tusculum scores on a 4-yard touchdown run by Buddy Taylor, puts them up 35-23. But unfortunately, they are not done yet. Running scot-free, bad angles, slow foot speed, all of it. Now they are up 42-23 with a 36-yard touchdown run by Jerome Newland. And that Tusculum will go on to win 49-23. So you see the common theme here. Teams are looking a little bit better, more improved, and they're putting up a fight early, but they're running out of gas late. Bluefield State will host Concord next week. Let's see if they can sustain the energy for a full game, 2 halves. All right. I was actually at this game. It was a beautiful scene, great weather, great people, and not that good of a game, though. Virginia Union versus Miles at the Hall of Fame. Complete and utter beatdown. Right here we have Brady Myers making a 40-yard field goal at the end of the first quarter to put Union up 3-0. Later on in the game, you have, and this is actually interesting. I put this clip in here for a reason. Because if you look at Union's stable of running backs, guys are bigger. And they do things different. But as far as the natural speed and the elusiveness of a Jada Byers, it's not the same. More physical, but not nearly as fast or as shifty or able to hit the hole and go. Also, and we'll get into that, problems holding on to the football for Union. But we'll get into that. All right. So you saw the beautiful hurdle, but right after the hurdle was a fumble. Late in the game, late in the fourth quarter, 31-3. You're going to see Mark Wright throw a 48-yard touchdown pass to Keon Davis to put them up 38-3. They would win by a final score of 45-3. Not much to see here. Complete and utter beatdown. Now let's talk about what is interesting about Union. They had 22 rushing first downs, 6 passing, 300 and I thought it was a typo. 375 rushing yards, 181 passing yards. Now, here's the thing. Union is going to be interesting this year because they still run the ball a lot, but like I said, it's different. It's not Jada Byers back there. That's going to make a difference. How they get the yards is going to be different. First of all, well, like I said, they had some ball security issues. They fumbled the ball 4 times, only lost it twice though, but 4 fumbles. That was not a problem that you had with Jada Byers, right? Also, when you look at quarterback, and this is being generous, Union's quarterback at most is 5'7". I'm just saying it's a different offense, different quarterback, different running backs. I'm just saying if you wanted to take out Union, from what I saw so far, this would be the year. Now let's look at this. Let's keep going. Last game of week 0. You had Tuskegee versus Winston-Salem State. Right here we have Dalen Lee, 50-yard touchdown pass to Jahari Mitchell to put Winston-Salem up 7-3. All right. We have, again, which one is this? There we go. Winston's up 7-3. Later on, in the second half is where things got a little bit tricky for Winston-Salem State University. They go into the half up 10-3. Tuskegee's offense is looking anemic to say the least, but they come out in that second half, and Raekwon Beal throws an 18-yard touchdown pass to Preston Parker, ties the game up at 10. But they're not done. Raekwon Beal throws another touchdown pass to Rashard Wilson, puts them up 17-10. Winston-Salem does not take this lying down. Dalen Lee throws another touchdown pass, 34 yards, to Devontae Deloitte. This is where things went in a completely different direction for Winston-Salem State. It is 17-all, and from this point on, Tuskegee pretty much controls the ball for the remainder of the game. The 17-all with 5 minutes left. Tuskegee makes a 29-yard field goal, puts them up 20-17. WSSU gets the ball. They go 3 and out. And Tuskegee runs out the rest of the clock, wins the game 20-17. But that's not even the most interesting part. Let's get into these numbers. So, what WSSU had 11 total first downs the entire game. They had 123 rush yards, 169 passing yards. They had 9 total completions. They had less than 300 yards of total offense. They fumbled the ball 3 times but recovered it twice. They had 9 penalties for 79 yards. Time of possession, they had the ball for 12 minutes less. And let's look at the breakdowns of the quarters, right? So, they had the ball for 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes in the first quarter. They had it for 10 minutes in the second quarter. But in the entire second half, they only possessed the ball for a little over 8 minutes. They had it for 4 minutes and 44 seconds in the third, 3 minutes and 33 seconds in the fourth. Meanwhile, Tuskegee possessed the ball for almost 22 minutes in the second half. All right. Balin Lee went 9 for 19, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 169 yards. TJ Ruff had 9 attempts for 82 yards. Averaged 9 yards a carry. He had one big run of 52 yards, which kind of inflates the average, but at the same time, should have had a lot more than 9 attempts. Just keeping it real. Jahari Mitchell had a big game, 2 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. So, I know some of my WSSU folks are not going to like what I'm about to say, but listen, it needs to be said because look at him standing. Shout out to WSSU Ram Nation. All right. I'm gonna have to give WSSU Ram Nation some hard truths, man. They may not agree, but I gotta be real, man. The issue with Winston-Salem State, as I see it, is this. They don't really have an identity. They don't really have a plan or a scheme for what they want to do. WSSU relies on big plays. And I got to give them credit. Whoever their play caller is, whoever their passing game coordinator is, he is very good at his job because he schemes things up in a way to where there's going to be at least 4 plays a game where, because of the passing route combination or whatever you want to call it, there's going to be at least 4 different times where guys are going to be running free wide open. The issue with that is if they don't get the big play, there's not really much there. They don't run the ball as often as you would expect a WSSU team to run the ball, even with the backs that they have. And as much as they throw the ball deep, it doesn't appear as if they work with the receivers enough because I understand this is Division II football, but I have never seen so many wide open bombs dropped than I've seen with WSSU in the last 2 years. That's the problem. When your whole offense is designed around, we're going to get a couple of big plays a game, but it's to be fair, it's a 70-30 chance the receiver is going to catch the ball. Even with one of the bombs, the first one, the guy, he tried his hardest to drop it, but he held on to it, so shout out to him. That's the issue with Winston-Salem State. If they ever go up against a team that is sound defensively, that communicates, that knows, okay, I have this guy, I pass this guy off to that guy, and there's not guys running free, it becomes very hard for Winston to score. When it becomes hard for them to score, I'm going to be honest, I don't have a lot of faith in the coaching staff that they can effectively call a game that's going to produce efficient offense. I'm watching this game against Tuskegee. I'm watching the second half. And when you really think about it and break it down, there's no real reason. I'm glad you're being honest. Okay. There's no legitimate reason as to why Tuskegee should have possessed the ball that long. Because once again, if you watch the game and then you go back and you look at the numbers, Tuskegee did not, you would think with a time of possession like that Tuskegee just ran the ball down their throat. They had less than 100 yards rushing. They had 120 passing. They had like 270 total yards on the game. They only had Tuskegee. They had 19 total first downs. Here's the thing, though. They got 3 first downs off a penalty. And this is where, listen, I don't want to that's not for me to say. I'll leave that part of that. But what I will say is this. You have a fan base that's expecting championship contention. When you have a second half like that, from the top down, it's not a good look. You can't have unsportsmanlikes leading the first downs, drop passes, delays the games out of a timeout, false starts, not running the ball nearly enough, can't get off the field. You cannot let Tuskegee have the ball for almost 8 minutes. They kick a field goal, and then right after that, you go 3 and out. They get the ball back and run out the game. That can't happen. And once again, Tuskegee only had 86 rushing yards and 154 passing yards. An 8-minute drive in the fourth quarter can't happen. It just can't happen. Now, if it's Union and you look and they got 350 rushing yards, it's like, okay, we got to learn how to stop the run. But that's not what, like, I don't even know how to explain how they could not get off the field. It's just hard to explain. And I watched it because I was on that long ride back to Maryland from Ohio. So I had nothing else to do. I watched every snap of the game. And I couldn't believe. Mind you, I always like to take shots at WSSU. It's fun. But at the same time, I couldn't believe how they couldn't get off the field. And then guess what? The starting quarterback for Tuskegee has to come out for a minute. The backup comes in. They hold him to a field goal. Touchdown wins the game. It's 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left in the game. After they just held the ball for almost 8 minutes, you cannot go 3 and out. Yeah, drove 7. I drove 6. I won't do that again, though. I'm not driving 6 hours again. Only way I'm driving 6 hours to that Hall of Fame game is if Bowie is in it. Otherwise, I'll catch it on TV. But yes, that can't happen. I didn't mean to spend too much time on WSSU, but I'm just saying they have championship aspirations. And all I'm saying is, if you're a fan, there's some worries about what's going on from the top down. And that seat is getting hot. That's all I'll say. All right. So there's that. But next week, WSSU will be facing, they're going to Mars Hill, another road night game. Let me tell you something. If the seat is hot now for Massey, he go 0-2. And hey, man, keep Massey lifted up in prayer, man. He gonna need it. They lose that game. They're going 0-2. He's going to be in a tough spot. They're going to be sweating bullets. All right. So that being said, we went over all the games. The only team that we did not talk about was Bowie State, because Bowie State was the only team in the conference that did not play in week 0. Bowie State will be going to Shippensburg this Saturday. Looking forward to that. And I'm going to be real. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've done a lot of research. I've looked at our roster. I've been over there in PSAC spaces and heard what they had to say about Shippensburg. Now, to be honest, the biggest issue for Bowie State last year was playing on the road. So we're going to find out right out the gate if we fix that problem or not by how they play at Shippensburg. Shippensburg was not a good team last year. They didn't really make a whole lot of moves in the offseason or in the portal. They're not really expected to do much in the PSAC. This is a game that if you have any realistic thoughts of Bowie State doing anything at all, this is a game that Bowie State has to go on the road and win. I hate to say it's a non-conference must win in week 1, but once again, this is a non-conference game against a school that is not very good, and it's on the road, which is where we've had a lot of demons in the past couple of years. If we can't get this one, we go week 2 to Delaware State. If we can't beat Shippensburg, what's going to happen at Del State? And then you still got to go to Livingstone. We've already known some of the issues we've had on the blue turf. We already know about that. Then we still have to go to Union. So this is a very important game because it's going to answer some questions right off the rip. Then, of course, we host Winston. We host Fayetteville State. We host... who else do we host? We host Elizabeth City State for homecoming. We already know how that's going to go. But we're going to Lincoln, who looks better. We're going to Bluefield, who looks better, but we still should win both of those games. But this first game is a must-win. Last piece I got for you guys before we get out of here. You've seen all the highlights. You've heard all the statistics. Now let's go over this. Let's go over the rankings going into week 1. Let's see. Here we go. All right. CIAA rankings after week 0, 1 through 11. Now, some of you saying Bowie State is high because, listen, Bowie State is where Bowie State is because Bowie State didn't lose this weekend. That's just what it is. And it's not just about losing, because you can lose a close game or you can lose and look good. But most of these losses, all the losses, the team did not look good in the loss. It's just varying degrees of how bad they looked. So I understand Virginia State was playing Barton, but that was a complete and utter beatdown, complete domination. They did what they were supposed to do on the road. Johnson C. Smith. Once again, I understand the opponent, but they did what they were supposed to do, and they handled it very quickly. Union, same thing. Union is behind State and Johnson C. Smith because Union, once again, they had turnover issues, fumbles and stuff like that. And I'm going to be real. Out of Virginia State, Johnson C. Smith, and Virginia Union, I think Union is the weakest of the 3 at quarterback. Like I said, if I'm being generous, Union's quarterback is about 5'7". That's I'm being generous. They ain't no taller than that. Bowie's at 4, they didn't lose. Now, 5 through 11 all took a loss. It was just how bad was the loss. Winston-Salem State, that was just that second half. Man. Need I say more? Elizabeth City State, I almost put ECSU above Winston, almost. The issue with ECSU is, from what it looks like, is ECSU, they came out early, they shot out all the bullets in the gun in the first half, and that was it. They were done for. They scored their 2 touchdowns, they looked good, it was competitive, and they ran out of steam. That was it. Bluefield State looked like they came to play early. Big plays, defense, going back and forth. Ultimately, though, they couldn't stop a cold. and this was at home. Lincoln, I'm going to be fair to Lincoln. Lincoln played in a very, very tough environment. That was probably one of the bigger Division II crowds I've ever seen. Grand Valley State had about 10,000 people in attendance. I mean, it was people everywhere. How many HBCUs do you know of that have the end zone bleachers and it's full like that? It was, man, that was a tough environment. However, that defense was bad. It was bad. I'm not gonna lie, I might have overrated Lincoln just because I don't know, but I had them at 8 just because I think I like Lincoln's offense to an extent. Fayetteville State. I mean, I don't think Fayetteville State knows what they're doing on offense. I don't think they have a quarterback. That's the issue. You can say they look better than Lincoln. They played better competition. Well, they didn't play better competition, but they played harder than Lincoln. The issue is Lincoln has a quarterback that's going to put up some yards and some touchdowns. Now, he's going to throw some interceptions too, but he's going to throw for some yards and throw for some touchdowns. I don't think Fayetteville State knows who their quarterback is yet. We're keeping it real. Then we have Livingstone. Listen. Livingstone. It was tough to watch. I'm not gonna lie. It was slow foot speed, bad angles, bad tackling, bad defense. It was just bad all around. But they do have a few pieces that I'm like, okay, these guys can make some plays. So I can give them that. Shaw, I understand that it's, first year head coach, a lot of turnover on the roster. There's not much more to say about Shaw. It is what it is. I got to look at Shaw's schedule, see if I can find a win on there. But, yeah. So there it is, 1 through 11. I know some people may say Bowie is too high, but hey, we don't have no losses, right? Also, some people may say Lincoln is too high. I can hear that. Fayetteville State might be too low. Okay. Like if you wanted to make the argument that you wanted to switch Fayetteville State and Lincoln, I can hear that. If you wanted to switch Fayetteville State and Bluefield State, I wouldn't agree, but I'll listen. It's like I said, Bluefield State, they'll score more points this year than they did last year. They're still not going to stop anybody, but they'll score some. Shaw, I'm going to be real. I don't know what Shaw's going to do on offense or defense. I mean, they're going to show up, That's about it. All right. I want to thank you guys for coming out. We got 29 live viewers. There's definitely a record on this channel. I'm going to try to make this a regular thing, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. This is a lot of work. You got to watch 5-6 different games, get clips and highlights from all of them, edit it all together. And that's just to have the highlights for the show. Then you got to go to all the different websites, print out all the stats, read all of it, go through. It was a lot of work. But hey, I'm glad I did it. Stuff like this, I think, should happen more in the CIAA. And who knows, maybe in the future I'll be looking for a co-host or something like that. But listen, if you enjoyed the show, this is something like you've never seen before in the CIAA. Listen, man, I'm going to get back to my Umar Johnson.
Donations. Gifts.
I'm saying, let me up with some donations and some gifts. Cash App right there, $2, $3, $5. I can agree with you on that. Yes, Bluefield State did have a lower bar. They did. But like I said, I do think Bluefield's offense is better than Fayetteville. I mean, that ain't saying much though, but if I had to be real, head to head, I think Fayetteville State would probably beat Bluefield. The only reason why I'm hesitant is Fayetteville's going to have to score some points at some point, and it's just like, who they going to score them with? But I appreciate you guys coming out for the first episode of this. We're going to try to do this again next week. Peace out.